Good evening, and thank you for joining us at the HUUSD School Board meeting for 9/24, September 24th. It is 6 o'clock, and we are calling the meeting to order. Dr. Mike, do you see anybody in Zoom that might want to talk to us?
We have no one in Zoom, but Mr. Dabrowski is there, so I think we want to promote him to member.
Can you do that?
So I just did that, and he'll be rejoining the webinar as a panelist. And since there's no one in the audience and no public in Zoom, I think we're good to move on.
Okay, thank you. First item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to do that? Emily motions. Do we have a second? Second. From Ben. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay.
Aye.
I am operating with new glasses, so everything I do is weird. Right now, I'm looking up, I'm looking down. We will start, I guess, with a student report, and I think these guys have some slides, correct? Cindy, I think they send them to you? Awesome.
Underneath. Yeah. Over there. Right there. The blue one? The black, right there in the corner.
The whole thing. Yeah, okay. Thank you. You know I'm back, guys. But,
There you go.
okay, you guys.
All right, so this is the student report for September 24th. Next slide. All right, so just some Harwood happenings. We've got the homecoming week coming up, which will start on October 6th. The week will be full of fall and sports activities, including a pep rally in the gym, Harvest Fest, a staff versus students soccer game, and the homecoming dance. We'll have more on that on a later slide. Fall sports are up and running. Boys soccer record is 4-2-1. The girls soccer is 4-2. Girls volleyball is 5-1. We don't exactly know field hockey's record, but we think they're 2-4. The golf team is doing well. Bass fishing placed second at their tournament this past weekend, and cross country has been placing well at meets. Tomorrow we have Harwood's Club Fair, which will be during TA and ELO 2. All clubs that wish to attend will have tables set up in the gym for all of the grades to see them and possibly join. And we also have the College Fair on October 7th from 10:30 or 8:30 to 10 in the library. Colleges will be set up here, and they'll be showing off to all the prospective juniors and seniors.
Slide is about homecoming week. Monday, we have a bunch of games. We have JV and varsity volleyball, and we have the pep rally in the gym, where we're going to be doing some pretty exciting stuff and some competitions between teams. Tuesday, we have JV and varsity girls soccer versus Lake Region at home, and boys golf state at Dorset Club, and we have the college fair in the library. Wednesday is JV and varsity boys soccer at North Country, varsity volleyball at Middlebury, and varsity field hockey at versus Milton at home, as well as cross country at Montpelier. Thursday is Senior Mountain Day and Harvest Fest, where we go to schools or out in the community and help people and do community service. Girls varsity and JV has soccer at Middlebury. And there's the staff and student soccer game. And then Friday is the dance and girls golf states.
Just realizing we didn't have anything about this in the Harwood happenings. Senior Mountain Day is where the seniors all go, and I think we hike up the Mad River. Yeah, up Mad River, that area. Yeah, it's just like a team building fun experience thing. There's not really any big educational thing about it, but it's fun.
The music, is it, do you have a DJ? Do you have a band? Do you have?
Ants?
Yeah.
We have the person.
I think it's just gonna be a
No, what we were talking about.
Last year, it's the same DJ from last year's prom. We don't know exactly who that is versus name, but
And also on October 10th, we will be having Mary Harris Day to celebrate the life of Mary Harris, who died in 2016, along with 4 other Harwood students. And the soccer event is held for youth, and as it's progressed, it's really turned into supporting youth and encouraging them to play sports and how it really like impacts their lives into becoming leaders as they grow up. So this will be held, and the girls soccer team, as well as this year the girls lacrosse team and field hockey, will all be at Mad River Park to have drills and games and always a candy hunt at the end. So it'll be a lot of fun. Yeah.
So Harwood's NHS is opening a food pantry behind the counseling office. It's going to have clothing, it's going to have food, hygiene products, and shoes, and we're getting more and more donations every day. The principal, Meg's, I think it was her mom who brought in like 5 boxes yesterday. So it's great having all of that, and we definitely encourage if any of you want to or are able, please bring in clothes, non-perishable food items, hygiene supplies, anything like that. And you can email me or probably Meg if you want to organize that. And we have a little quote here from my co-president, Lessa Dreimiller. Harwood's community is of deep value to us, and we wanted a way to offer support to anyone who needs it, especially during rough times in their lives. And it's completely anonymous. Students can go in there any time of the day and take food. They just write on the piece of paper what they took, so we know what's going out and what we should refill. And I think it's great. This was all spearheaded by Maggie. What's her last name? No, she graduated last year. I'm talking about the nurse. Maggie Weintraub, she's a nurse at Harwood, and she noticed that there was more food insecurity at Harwood than people were talking about and addressing. So this is our attempt at addressing that, just to give people a little extra bump to get through the day or food to bring home. I think that's all we have.
Is amazing. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. What kind of food? Like canned food, boxed food, like non-perishables? Is
Yeah,
that the?
definitely non-perishable.
Wow.
And it's mostly canned right now. We don't have a huge supply. And if you want, the board can tour it afterwards. I don't know.
Where did you say it was?
Just-
Behind.
It's locked right now, but it's in the counseling office, like right next to Randy Sweeney's office, near the back area where the students go with.
And are you putting up signage in school so people know? Wow, awesome.
There's a sign in one of those photos. We made that during an early NHS meeting, but we're gonna make more with arrows and stuff. And if students need help, we told them in an assembly announcement to just talk to the health office.
That is so great. Wow. Thank you. Go ahead, Dan.
Stuff. I for one would be super interested if we could get some of the clubs in at some point just to kind of tell us what they do. Do you think that might be a possibility?
It'd take me a moment to find it, but I have a list of all the clubs at Harvard if you want to see that as well.
You guys could invite them, like their leadership people or anyone who's interested. I mean, it's a great point. Very often we're a little removed and we don't know all the great things that are happening. And That would be cool. So maybe next, get somebody, think of your favorite club, Cashel.
Um, I'd love to see the list of the clubs. Is it on the website or?
I can send, well, I have here, it's a Google Doc that's still being updated. It's got a lot of the student leaders from last year still on it, but I can share it with Jenny right now that she can put.
He is now here. All right. Any other questions for the students? All right. Moving on to Dr. Mike.
And I'll note some of our other schools have food pantries as well. Food insecurity is, some people are surprised with our percentages of economically disadvantaged students, but it is an issue. And if anyone has any interest in donating, I want to give the Harwood Honor Society a big shout out for organizing this and doing a great job. But I know just in my role as a member of the Mad River Valley Rotary Club, the Honor Society applied for a grant. We granted $500 for the kind of the startup of that project, and they're getting other donations as well. So they are always, Honor Society is always open for donations on that topic. But just at the high school alone in their application, they had referenced that they have 160 students in the high school who are food insecure. So it's very much it still is a very much an issue in Waterbury, Duxbury, and the Valley. But on the topic of my report, I included my written report, which I do on the second board meeting of the month, and I have a couple of topics. I'll just go through them, and happy to take questions on anything on the report as well as any other areas of interest. The first piece I mentioned, just because we have a number of board members who were not on during my goal 2 years ago, and part of that was to improve district-wide communications. That's what led to our new website, and the fact also that we are unrolling improved school websites that follow the kind of the same kind of pattern, just so that we have a similar user interface for parents, whether they're elementary, middle school, or high school. But along with that, we introduced a monthly district newsletter. So there's information I include, but there's also one of the pieces I also include. We ask principals from each of the buildings to give us 1 or 2 articles from their newsletters each month, because what we realize is, if you're at the Moortown School or at Brookside or any other schools, and you're getting information about that school, you're not necessarily seeing all the great things that are happening across all the schools in our school district. So that was one of the goals. So you'll notice at the bottom, there's always a feature that includes an article from each of the schools. And we do that just to make sure everyone's aware of the great things happening in all our buildings. Gave a little update on superintendent goals, and right now, as far as the advisory groups, the first group I'm targeting is our PTO officers. So I have the names and contacts for each of those buildings. This is something that I've done before, where I convene a meeting about every other month for PTO officers, where the first portion of that meeting is just a chance to give updates on what's happening in the district, get some input on some of those pieces, and then what I found valuable is for the second half of that meeting to let PTO officers from all the buildings just kind of have an open forum, because a lot of times there's a fundraiser in one building, and a building is doing something really good as a PTO to raise funds for their schools. Other schools sometimes benefit from kind of sharing that information and learning from each other. So that's one of our goals with that piece. Talked a little bit about the threat assessment team policy and procedures, and that was as a result of Act 29, which was a school safety law, partly a school safety law passed in 2023. It required that we have threat assessment teams, and we do have them. We actually started the training 2 years ago. It's organized through the Agency of Education. It's based on best practices, a national organization who talks about, when there is a threat in a school, whether it's someone saying something that may be inappropriate or a message, what is the protocol to go through to make sure that you're properly evaluating that situation, following through on the correct protocols of how to respond, but then also making sure that we provide strong support for students and families. So we've been through that process. We've used that process, but we are formalizing it. So after the adoption of the board policy, there's also a model procedure that was recommended by the Agency of Education that I was on the advisory group last year when that was being fully developed. and we are working on that as an administrative team. We have it, I'd say 95% done. We have a little bit of work to do on that, but it's just formalizing district-wide our procedures so that they're the same in all of our buildings. Also, we have a administrative team work groups that we take different topics in order to kind of update our administrative procedures. And one of the things that we needed to really do is to take a look. It was a number of years since we looked at our attendance and truancy procedures. So we updated those procedures for buildings, put together kind of an overview for families. I sent that out last week. And just wanted to point out that's another piece that we want to try to make sure that we're intervening. We did see an increase in attendance absences as a result of COVID. So we thought this was a good time to make sure that we're tightening our procedures in relation to that. And then also, finally, I wanted to mention that we're very close to October already, October 1, which is next week. And October 1 is the day that our school, and actually all schools, use to kind of set the yearly bar for attendance. And you heard Curtis maybe talking a little bit to John about some of that piece. That's a report that we work on. We take a look at all of our data and put together a report for the board, but then we use that information. Information goes to the Agency on Education, goes to the U.S. Department of Education. So that's the basis of our year-to-year comparisons. It's also the basis for when the Agency of Education, the legislature determined funding, our per pupil counts. That number is used for that as well. So it sounds pretty easy. We just count the kids up in each building, but there's a lot more detail and work. I saw Curtis's eyebrows over there raised when I said it's a really easy, straightforward process. It takes a lot of work, but I did give all of the board members a link to last year's October 1 snapshot, and then also the link to the webpage on our district homepage that we have all of the previous archived reports. So you can look forward to that. That's always done. It takes a couple of weeks to make sure that's everything is correct and for us to button up that document. So I will have that at the second meeting in October. And I will also, I did want to put in here that I will not be at the next board meeting. I try not to miss board meetings. I think I've had perfect attendance so far, so I will break my perfect attendance. I think in my last school district after 13 years, I think I missed 3 meetings in 13 years. So it's something I try not to do, but I will not be here at the next one. And that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'm happy to respond.
I just want to make a comment. I really like this creation of the advisory groups, and I hope they'll also serve the function of letting us know what people are saying, because naturally rumors go around. For particular, I'm thinking of the rumor or the statement, why is the district spending so much money on the parking lot at Harwood when we say we have a budget crisis? And as Dr. Mike explained in the district newsletter, I mean, we were mandated by the state because of stormwater runoff issues, and the state covered 90% of the cost. So, I mean, there's an easy answer, but we want to know what people are worried about. And I hope the PTO leaders and other advisory groups can kind of give us what's going around.
Thank you, Steve. And once I get this group off and running, and hopefully in the next month, I'll come back to you with my idea for the next group, which is more of a community-based advisory group, and get some input from board members and potential people I could ask to be on that.
Any more questions for Dr. Mike from anyone? Okay.
And I was going to report a little bit on an update, but I also want to include JB because it may go into a board report. But Lisa and I mentioned last time that we had a meeting scheduled with Truex Collins that occurred last week. We met with Lisa, Ray, and I met. It was an internal meeting that we met with Truex Collins just to review the interim report for us to take a look, at the details they included to make sure that we thought everything was accurate. And then it'll go into a meeting that JB can talk about that's being warned this Friday for next week. But I have to say, and I'll ask Lisa to kind of add her input as well. I was very impressed with the report and the way they laid it out. They went through what they provided to the board before in that kind of that first phase of the report was estimates based on kind of actuarial data that was common that may or may not have been precise. The numbers from that report to this report have come down as far as deferred maintenance, and what they are doing is they list it in three categories that they'll explain next week to the committee. One of the first of which is really the, you know, your critical issues that have to be addressed right away. You know, your leaking roofs and your failing, you know, HVAC system, those kind of things. The second one are really kind of enhancements to systems that while they may not be critical and required, they're going to be wise to do in the short term. And then the three would be enhancements to some buildings. And what struck me, and I'll stop talking, Lisa, but what really struck me, and I think when the board sees the report after it's finalized, one of the things they did, they went through each building and they kind of give the list of those areas in each of the three categories, and they show pictures of some of those issues. And it's one of the things, you know, one of the architects made mention that sometimes when you, if you're a parent, you're dropping your child off in the morning, everything looks great, but when you start to see what the when they highlight what the issues are with some of the infrastructure, then you drive up to the building. And I've had this before, you know, in my last school district when we looked at some facility issues, you really think, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed the fact that the windows are in the exterior is in bad shape, and they're, you know, the paint's peeling, and there's cracks. You really start to see those issues, and they are things that really are important for us to correct in the short term. Lisa, do you have anything that you wanted to add?
Again, it was an eye opener where they went through each building with a fine tooth comb. And even though we're in buildings, Mike's in buildings, Ray's in buildings, they're in buildings more often every day than I am, but it's an eye opener. So it was a very thorough job by them. And then also with the cost estimators, with the initial costs that they gave us preliminary, and then the true estimations, it's come down quite a bit, but I was very impressed with their report.
And we had a very good comment from a citizen last week who was saying, you know, with all the talk of redistricting, why aren't we doing more now? And kind of as a side note, I know that person pretty well, so I reached out. I'm going to sit down with him, kind of talk about, let him know what we're doing administratively, and talk a little bit about what the board's doing. But I think it was a good point, and I do think, to his question, I think what this report does is really illustrate in preparation for a potential. And I'm not sure what the state's going to do with the redistricting recommendations, but I think this board is doing the important work now and looking at the details of what needs to be done, especially when you look at, you know, code requirements in the short term to prepare for that. So I think the reports will lead to a lot of discussion among the board. And JB, did you want to talk a little bit about next steps?
To say that we will have our first meeting on Tuesday the 30th from 6 to 7:30 via Zoom. So we welcome as many of you as can attend. I think that'd be great. So it'll be our first look at the facility assessments reports. I don't have obviously much to say about that, but I'm looking forward to it.
So at that meeting, does the report then become public? Yep.
And Lisa Scalotti from Waterbury Roundabout reached out today and just asked about the process, and we let her know. And it will be a publicly warned meeting on Friday. It's open to any citizens who want to join via Zoom, and we welcome any participation. I really think that the more people who are aware, the better in this circumstance. Like I said, I was very impressed with the level of detail and the way that they laid it out and how understandable it is.
I just asked for the meeting day and time again.
That meeting for the Building and Use Committee is 6 to 7:30 on the 30th of September. Any other questions for Dr. Mike on this? Well, that was kind of JB's update from the Building and Use. Steve, do you have a public outreach?
Oh, we're meeting again tomorrow, so I don't have too much to say right now.
Steve had sent out a while ago, just a suggestion of the type of note you could put in the front porch forum. And I've written my first one. It was pretty easy. I took kind of what Steve had in his letter and I cut out pieces that I didn't want to include. And just change things around, my language. And then, and put in a little piece where I said I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but, my personal reaction, talking about change. This is a Jewish holiday. I brought this in to show everyone this is how you announce the new year, and it gets blown several times during the course of both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. But it reminds me it's a new year, new hope, and I feel very refreshed from spending a couple of days thinking maybe there's hope. Anyway, so if anybody wants to, write in their front porch forum, so the Valley Forum goes to Warren, Waitsfield, Fayston, and Warren, Waitsfield, and Fayston. And then Moortown has its own front porch forum. So if you're interested in posting in Moortown, I mean, it would be nice if, if we did scheduled things. If you want to post in the Valley, let me know. Maybe we could set up a little schedule. That's all.
One comment on public outreach in that I lately received from the VSBA a survey asking us how we're feeling about redistricting, and it got Mike and I talking about doing our own survey of community. So about redistricting and their thoughts and what are people's great ideas out there. So I'm going to bring that to your committee meeting tomorrow night to talk about. And we drafted something today that is just a bare bones sort of survey that we can work on, but I think it's a good beginning.
I did want to thank, in particular, the Waterbury representatives are getting their act together to send out some front porch forum postings. I think these are just very helpful. People in Moortown give me good feedback about my postings. Not 100%, but pretty good.
We appreciate your work on this public outreach, and it really, honestly, it's the best sort of beginning and defense of, not defense, but just the best defense is offense, right? We've got to keep talking to the public because there's a lot going to come down the way. Casual.
You respond to the survey.
I haven't responded yet. I have until October 6th. So I'm going to be very thoughtful about it. And I don't think we don't have a meeting before that, but I'm hoping to work on this survey idea with Steve and start to develop some thoughts for it. Go ahead, Charlotte.
So like the survey being sent out to community members, but would that survey also be sent out to students? Because I think that'd be interesting to see.
Definitely in our community.
Because students know about the redistricting, but if students know about like it in great detail, I think that would also be helpful.
Teachers. Yeah, I mean, these are the people in the know, right? These are the people, I mean, that we came up with a bare bones selection of questions that we can refine with Steve and make it more comprehensive. And what would be great, and you guys have aced this in the past, is getting people to take the survey, because the hardest thing is you've got the survey and people are like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they keep like clicking it off and not doing it. The more data that we can push towards that task force that's legit, the more potential ideas. I mean, Cashel?
I think among the students and community members, maybe even just a question saying, are you aware of the redistricting would be helpful so we know how well we're doing.
Corey is having to miss this evening. He had something come up that was important and he couldn't miss. But he was going to give us a CVC update, and we will do that at our next meeting. But we are dropping into their bond vote, which will be coming up, right? I mean, it's November. It's what's the number? I know I got that today.
I received this in the mail yesterday. They're sending out all kinds of information. It's a $149 million bond. The new site is in Barry area. And they actually, as I was talking to the superintendent of the CVCC, their board has been working on this for 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time in the making. I know people are starting to ask questions about it, but it will be on the ballot, special election in November.
Okay, moving on from board reports. Because the load is a little light this week, we're going to talk a little bit about some professional development procedures. And I am doing this basically because I feel like this is my week's suit is to keep reminding board members of what they can do and what they can't do. And I definitely have run into that a little bit. So I picked at a giant list of information, and I narrowed it down to just a few topics I thought we could talk about a little bit. None of them are particularly exciting, but it's gonna it is important. The first is agenda development and agenda requests. This is what we do here. You know, we put stuff on the agenda and then we talk about it. And from that comes changes or policy or other things. So I'll just read it and then we can talk about it. The agenda for each meeting is developed by the board chair, the vice chair, and the superintendent. We basically meet the Tuesday of the week prior and have an agenda planning meeting and talk about it then. So the further out, the better. The agendas have to be warned, at least published, at least 2 days before the public meeting. That for our Wednesday meeting would actually be Monday afternoon, but we try to do them Friday so that you have the opportunity to read that over the weekend. While it is possible to change the agenda during a meeting, as a general practice, we strive to follow the previously warned agenda. This ensures the public knows what is going to be discussed and helps the board stay on track to accomplish the goals that we set when we wrote the agenda. If a board member wishes to add an item after the agenda has been warned, they should email the board leadership prior to the meeting. This allows the leadership to determine whether the item is already scheduled for an upcoming meeting, avoids surprises at the board table, and provides guidance on wording a motion. Amending the agenda to add items should not become a common practice. So we only do it once in a while where we've forgotten something or somebody has something that they want to share. So throughout the year, the board members may make suggestions for new agenda items beyond what is in the work plan. To manage that efficiently, we use an agenda request process. Well, I read what we had here from before, and we don't really do it like that. That gave we were going to review them every 2 months, but we don't get a lot. So in all honesty, if Cindy and I get an agenda request, that's interesting to us and we're going to talk about it immediately. And if it's something we think we should be talking about, we'll put it on the agenda. So nobody needs to think it's going to take 2 months because it's not. I just have to switch these glasses. I can't do it. I can't do this anymore. All right. So any board member may submit a request for an agenda item. You can email it to us and then we'll bring it to a meeting or we'll discuss it about when we can do it. We can add it to a future agenda. This process allows members to have input without derailing meetings or ongoing board work. So we just don't like to change the agenda is basically the message there. Open meeting law. This is an easy thing to forget. This is why we don't ever do a group email. Send HUUSD is off limits to us unless you're saying our meeting is on a date or you're giving just raw information. There can be no discussion in email because that is not open to the public. I mean, it could be because at any time the media can take a FOIA dump and look at all of our email. So if they want to, they can, but you know, they don't want to unless something's amiss, usually. So open meeting law. If an email is sent to the entire board, please do not hit reply all when responding. Doing so may violate the open meeting law. It could be interpreted as having a discussion among board members that is a quorum defined as 50% or more of the weighted voting membership. When open meeting laws don't apply, they don't apply if any communication between the members of the public body for the purpose of scheduling a meeting, organizing an agenda, or distributing materials or discussion. So if you want to share an article, no problem. Talk about that and how it weighs on what we do, that's a problem. Occasions when a quorum is in a public body attending social gatherings. It's not a problem because you're not going to talk about board business, but it could be if you did. So don't is the answer. You see your friends from the board, talk about the weather, talk about what you're there doing. Confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services. That is when it doesn't apply, right? If it's confidential. Other topics that could be, oh wait, no, that's a separate thing. Sorry. Okay, that's it for that. Gathering, recording, okay, here are, sorry, I got that a little back. Hold on. Doesn't apply. At a gathering of a quorum of a public body at a duly warned meeting of another public body. That also does not matter. And in executive sessions, it does not matter. That's my last thing I want to talk about is executive sessions. I cannot say enough that it is a private conversation and that if it dribbles out of this room when we are having an executive session, that is the worst case scenario. It means we don't have confidence to have a private conversation about something that shouldn't be in the public. That is not a good look for our board. So please don't discuss executive sessions. I'm going to send this document out so people can see it. It's
Lisa just posted it for
Oh,
us, so it's
perfect.
on the agenda.
It's already there. All right, so you can read through it, but I'm not going to belabor the executive session thing by reading this whole sheet of paper, but when you're in it, your phone should be off. Your computer is only on for information. You are not, it shouldn't be at all public. And when you're sitting, if you're in Zoom during it, you shouldn't be in a room with another person. You also, again, your phone should not be on. It is a private conversation. So even if you're Zooming, you have to be sensitive to the people in your home. I think I'll stop there. But that is executive sessions, open meeting law, and agenda development. So if you have something you want to talk about, please email Cindy and I. You know, right now, our agenda is still on the light side because we haven't waded into the Truex work or various other things that will be coming down the line here, our budget. But so if you have things we could talk about, now would be a good time to bring them up. The second part of our discussion tonight is an update about our wastewater project in Waitsfields. But thank you.
And I can start it out saying that I talked to the board last year that the town of Waitsfield and initially the zoning administrator, a person you may know by the name of Mr. Weir, reached out to talk about the project and to talk about the role of Waitsfield in that overall project. First of all, there's some land that is impacted by that, but also there's also a discussion that eventually we are able to tap into that wastewater. So that's just to introduce it from kind of what was presented to the administration, but the person with the greatest amount of knowledge is JB. So JB.
It's good timing because we had a big workshop today with the wastewater team and the Wastefield Select Board as far as a project update and where we're going to go from here. So this project's been about 4 years in the making. Like I said, I've been living and breathing wastewater for the last few years. Um, Wastefield is the largest unsewered town in the state of Vermont, which is quite shocking, especially due to its population of almost 1,900. It being a resort town, lots of restaurants, retail, what have you. But like any other town, we've been seeing a housing crisis. And so when monies were made available back in 2021, we decided to yet again pursue a wastewater system. It was first proposed back in 2008, along with the municipal water system. The water system ended up passing, and the wastewater system was defeated narrowly, basically on the premise that they did not, Waitsfield did not want to become another Stowe. Well, here we are 17 years later, and it's the largest unsewered town in the state. I know, not many resort communities, especially at the base of three ski mountains, have empty storefronts. So anyway, so we embarked on this in 2021 with the hope that we would subsidize the system with approximately $15 million in grants and subsidies and a low interest $2 million loan. Things started off pretty well. We've actually we have amassed about $5.5 million in grants and subsidies, mainly through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund, as well as through USDA. We got a recent package from USDA, which would fund a portion of the system. It was about $8 million in loans, and fortunately, it was less than $700,000 in grants. So the changing in the federal landscape. We don't have to go into that in too much detail, but as you can imagine, a lot of grant money has been rescinded in the last year or so. So nonetheless, we have pushed on. We are at about 85% design. We will have final design in March of next year, and we are hoping to build the system or start construction of the system this time next year. So what does that look like? The town owns a piece of land down on South Route 100, close to the Warren line, called the Munn Field. So we purchased that back in 2006 or so in order to facilitate a wastewater disposal site. So it would, I don't know if you're familiar with Waitsfield, but it would be collecting effluent from approximately Fiddler's Green in Waitsfield as the southernmost portion of town, all the way up to the Waitsfield Elementary School. This requires 5 pump stations of varying size, and integral to that is a pump station located at the southern edge of the Waitsfield Elementary School. The way the system is not it's not huge. It has about we won't get into too much technical details, but it's got about 89,000 gallons of capacity, at least at the outset. So we had to somehow limit. The way we approach it is certainly it's very important for housing, commercial development. But first and foremost, we sought to propose the project as environmentally smart. There are many septic systems that along the Mad River that are too close to the river. They are in upwards of 30, 40 years old, which is the max life of a septic system. They are on properties that have overlapping well shields, so there's public health issues, possible failure or contamination of groundwater and people's private wells. So there are about 70 parcels which have gotten an initial, have signed on with non-binding agreement to hook up to the wastewater system, all of which are deemed significant insofar as the age of the system, proximity to a well, placement in the river corridor or the floodplain. So Waitsfield Elementary School. So the property there, which is the proposed pump station, is on the southern edge of the school, right very close to what's called the General Weight House in Waitsfield, which is a town-owned property. And I don't believe actually the Waitsfield Elementary School was deemed a priority parcel, although its 2 leach fields are very close to the floodplain, if not somewhat in it. But the school is certainly going to would be given initial allocation to hook up to the system. So everything's been going relatively well, with the exception of the funding. We're looking at a couple funding scenarios to fund the system, given that we were not able to achieve all that we wanted to from grants and subsidies. One of the goals of the project has been to not increase property taxes, which we are going to not. We will stick by. There will be no impact to the municipal tax rate to those who are not on the system itself. So the school plays a very important role. It would alleviate the presence of the leach fields at the southern and northern ends of the school. It would provide a cleaner, more environmentally friendly system. The school also serves as a Red Cross shelter, emergency shelter, so it is very important in the case of floods or other catastrophes. Yeah, so everything's going well. We had a big meeting today. You'll be hearing a lot about this in the Valley Reporter, probably beginning next week as we approach how we're going to fund the system. It's the most important project the Mount River Valley has seen in many, many, many decades. And it is the key to the future of Waitsfield and its villages.
Thanks, JB. Does anyone have a question for JB?
So among the Truex Collins preliminary, I wouldn't say recommendations, but options was sending students to Waitsfield School and expanding that school. So that could be accommodated under this plan.
Yes. By hooking up to the system, the leach fields can be closed off. The septic tanks at the school would be pumped out and sealed, or there's various ways to remove them and make sure the ground is environmentally safe. And then, yes, I mean, I'm not an architect, but yes, it would be seemingly the only way to add on to Waitsfield School would be at the northern and southern ends of the school, which is where the leach fields are.
Other questions? Thank you for that. Well, I'm curious about the funding. What else do you explore? If it's not loans, it's more grants, and we're not discussing it.
We'll talk about that another time. No comment.
And otherwise known as we're working on it. Okay, thank you, JB. Okay, we were going to move on now to no action items, which is item number 6. And we are, mine cut off for policy hearing for adoption. We're going to adopt the 2 policies that we have talked about in our last 2 meetings. A1 draft role of adoption of school board policies and B1 draft board member education. Do we have any discussion? Does someone want to make a motion? Is there any that language? Cindy, did you do a? Oh, there it is. Okay. Yep. Do we have a motion to do this, a motion to accept this? Is that what we're doing? Accepting A1 and B1?
Make a motion to accept policies A1 and B1.
Do I have a second? Bobby seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Our next item is the consent agenda. This includes approving the Harwood field trip request. That's an athletic field trip. We can talk about that a little if anyone wants to. Approving the 9/10 warrants, which were $521,068.92, and approving the meeting minutes from 9/10. Does anyone have any questions or discussion on that? Go ahead, Emily, then Dan.
I admit I only scanned the sheet about the field trip, but it wasn't like completely obvious to me what the field trip was for other than going to Maine. Was it cross country? I wasn't clear who it was.
I know it was a little thin. Trying to run fall
This is the yearly cross country tournament that takes place in Maine. I think it's the New England, one of the New England. Yeah, I will. Yeah, it's the the section 3. It's the Festival of Champions cross country race in Belfast.
Okay, so go ahead, Dan. Go ahead.
Please bear with my rambling if I go on too long, but the field trip request I thought was awesome, and I would approve that 10 out of 10 times. I think those opportunities are great. It did kind of bring up a question in my mind, though, which was about soccer, but it's happened in other areas as well, where we limit opportunities for kids for budgeting reasons and other purposes. And so when I looked at this as $4,800, which could roughly fund 2 additional middle school soccer teams for an entire season, I thought, I wonder like where our priorities are there. And so my, I guess, statement to the board and then question following it is whether other people agree is whether we should do whatever we can as a board to encourage our district to not limit any middle school opportunities based on skill level, whether that's like athletics or band. You know, we wouldn't cut kids from the band and tell them that they can go to chorus instead. And so I just want to make sure I'm not alone in that philosophy. If I am alone, great. I want to hear that too. But that's kind of what I wanted to just using that as a tangent there to bring that up.
And I can, first of all, I do want to clarify a piece. There has been, and I'm happy to bring in the high school principal and the athletic director. Usually that falls to the administration, but there have been questions. We have seen growing numbers in middle school soccer, and I had a conversation. Dan and I have gone back and forth about this. The decision to cap that number, which ended up, we did not do that, but Meg is going to have some conversations with parents after the season, was not at all based on finance. I want to make that very clear. It was based on the fact that we've seen growing numbers in soccer the last couple of years, and that has impacted the overall program. We have not been able to field a field hockey team to the same level. So part of the overall conversation at the end of the season is going to be with community groups, spearheaded by the high school principal, athletic director, who are responsible for the program, to take a look at some ways to make sure that we have healthy participation at all levels, how we can do that. One of the challenges we have is we do want all students to participate in athletics in middle school. What has been occurring, not just in our school, and because of this, I had some conversations with superintendents in other parts of the state, including Chittenden County, where they're seeing similar trends. There was a lot of participation in some sports during COVID that increased numbers. At the end of the day, when students get to high school, we can field one varsity team with 15 to 25 students, whatever numbers they use. So one of the challenges we're seeing is that balance has impacted programs at the high school level as well, and we want to look at all programs. So I can share that that there are in-depth conversations going on. In fact, on Monday night last week, I had some parents reach out from the field hockey program because of the fact that they had not initially enough numbers to field a team. So we had some conversations about parameters. We have traditionally not permitted 5th and 6th graders to participate on a middle school team. We had a conversation with some parents who really encouraged us to look at that piece. And that was also another piece where I've had some conversations with other superintendents and other communities who are seeing these similar trends that they have. There's one school in particular that has also considered 5th and 6th just this year. Montpelier has done it for a couple of years. And we are going to do that, even though it's mid-season, as a pilot program to make sure that we have healthy all-around programs. So I just wanted to clear up just for the board that it was not a financial decision. It was really over a balance of other sports and making sure that we're providing opportunities for all kids, but also providing for a healthy high school program, particularly at the varsity level as well. Lisa does have some information on the costs and where the costs are borne for that cross country trip, if you want to bring that up.
So for this particular trip, it's actually fundraised by Cross Country, and Ian, the athletic director, does have a fund balance in his athletic fund. So if they fall short, it would come out of that. But this is entirely, even transportation is paid by fundraising, so it does not come out of the general fund.
Good point. If there's any fun field trip that comes through, before it goes on the agenda, Lisa does look at it and has questions. There's going to be another one for athletics coming up at the next meeting. And Lisa has already inquired about that one as well. So we always make sure that there are appropriate funds, that it's not taking away from overall programs, but also that if it's something that requires fundraising, that's occurring as well.
Quick question. I had a quick question on that then. Because it does look like it's coming from fundraising. So what is it that we're actually approving? Just the permission to travel out of state then? Okay.
A comment about Dan's mission. I agree with you, and I for one agree with you that youngsters should not be limited. I do see the issue with they don't get field hockey when they're 8. They get baseball and soccer. That's all I know of when the kids are really little. So when I came up to Harwood as a 7th grader, I wanted to play field hockey because back then they didn't really have girls soccer. But how do we promote those other sports earlier on so we defray how many kids? I mean, the way it looked to me was like every single kid that came into the junior high wanted to play soccer. It felt like that. So, and I don't want to say no to anyone on that level. I agree with you. I think that's completely discouraging and wrong. Emily?
Ashley,
Jonathan?
are you there?
Yeah, hold on one second. Emily, then you, hon.
Okay.
So this actually brings up something that I was thinking about today that is semi-related to sports, and it's about PE. If we are trying to find and encourage students to learn and explore other sports, what I feel like we're not doing is utilizing our PE classes to introduce kids to sports. This might be sort of a different thing, but from what I'm seeing that's happening in PE right now, it's not physical education. So I don't know if at some point somebody decided things were getting too rough. I don't know. But my point is that I wanted to bring up is that this could be a way to get kids in, trying out field hockey, trying out soccer. Maybe soccer was what every junior high kid wanted to do because that's literally the only sport that really gets promoted in the Valley. I mean, everything is soccer. And I know that a couple years ago, my daughter played field hockey only because they were desperate for players. She didn't stick with it. She's soccer and lacrosse is really her thing. But just a thought, if we've got more happening in our schools that can introduce kids to sports, we might have greater diversity in interest.
Point. Jonathan, then JB.
I was going to say something along the same lines, and that we have the seniors going out and doing community service and they have time time to do that, and it's a great thing to do. But couldn't we also make a time for high school kids that are playing sports to go around to the local elementary schools and, let's say, during a PE class, say, hey, we're going to do a little demonstration of field hockey. If you're interested, here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. You want to try it? And every sport could get its moment in a PE class during the school year, prior to the season kicking off or whatever, and at least give the kids a look at it. Because like you said, Ashley, baseball and soccer are the ones that are available, outside of school. But the kids, don't necessarily even know what might be available for them once they get into the middle school, high school time zone. And I think there's no reason that they couldn't be, demonstrated these other sports that made aware of them. I know that during the the Mary Harris Day, that's going to be nice that they have kids from other sports other than soccer taking part in that. And I think it's kind of overall more stuff like that, more introduction, more demonstrations, more interactions with people from the various sports would be helpful. And that's something cheap and almost free we could do to encourage that.
That's a great point, and that is exciting that Mary Harris Day now includes other sports. That's really cool. We'll hear from JB, then Cashel. Go ahead.
I think the situation this year with seventh grade soccer was it was an innovative way to go about having that number of players out there, and I think just seeing who being so involved with it, seeing the numbers will be going into next year, they are considerably less as far as the Valley and Waterbury and kids. It will be there was something about especially the incoming seventh grade girls that they had started playing soccer long ago, and there was an extra large number. So I don't think this is going to be an every year thing, but I actually think the way it was handled was probably the best that could be done in the situation.
Say too that I think for me the really positive thing is, soccer parents, field hockey parents. We have parents who are very committed, who are stepping up, who are providing opportunities for students. And, as conversations that, Meg and Ian have had, that I've had, I think there's a lot of interest in really kind of pulling together at the end of the season and seeing what are we doing as a community, and, what can we do as a school to contribute to that, and how can we do a better job, not just as a school, but as a greater six-town community, to make sure that we're providing good opportunities for all kids. Another topic that came up last month, and I know we're in the middle of a drought, but we have needs in buildings, but we also have needs in playing fields, and that's another conversation I think is a community conversation of how can we support to make sure that we're not only having good activities for students, but we're also having healthy land and fields that allows us to give them opportunities in our community.
And then Cashel. Cashel first, Cashel, then Ben. Go ahead, Cashel.
Nice sweater, Ben. As a person who's taken not one but two Harwood PE classes, I've had a rather positive experience. And Emily, I'm just a little curious to what you're seeing that's making you feel not satisfied with it.
Obviously, I only have perspective of my child who's a ninth grader, but everything that she shared so far about PE class this year, there hasn't been anything really physical that happens. Like today was line tag, but you weren't allowed to run. So I'm not sure how line tag works or tag works when you can't run. And then there was this getting to know you sheet of paper and learning your friend's favorite foods. And so I was just really confused as to how that is PE. And I'm not trying to throw it, but last week it was like the same kind of things. They spent some time standing on a line doing something, and then they were on their computers.
And then Emma, whoever was first. Emma first, then.
Go ahead, Emma, you're taking.
Oh well. Okay, so something I noticed is in a lot of middle school PE classes, we did do a lot of sports and like field hockey and soccer and basketball to like kind of introduce us as middle schoolers, at least at Harvard we did that, to introduce us to different sports that we could play. But I do see where you're coming from. I don't know about, did she go to CrossFit Brook? Oh, really? Okay. Well, I don't really know, but
She's a freshman now, so it's maybe different.
But also in my PE class, we're doing a little bit of get to know you, but we're also doing.
Not sure if the mic's working.
Yeah, your mic. Pull it in.
Oh, there we go. What I was saying is in middle school, we did a lot of sports, trying them out, like field hockey and basketball and soccer and stuff like that. But then in my PE class, we are doing some getting to know you stuff, but we're also doing things like archery and disc golf. And we are beginning to get more into the activity piece of it. It could be the PE class she's taking.
Yeah, Harwood offers quite a few different PE classes, and what you do in them varies. I'm not remembering the exact names because they're always changing the names of them. Um, but like my last PE class, we did basketball, we did some soccer, we did archery. But a big part of it is the physical education side, and it does involve some computers where at the end of every unit you'd have to do a knowledge ticket where you talk about the skills that you learned in the unit, what sports they connect to and how that's good for your body. It's about it is being physical 'cause it's PE class, it's physical education, but it is also learning about how to keep your body in good condition because if you don't exercise, then you go a bit downhill.
Okay, let's go to Ben, then Pam. Can you remember what you're going to say, Ben?
I would like to yield the floor to Charlotte if she has something to say.
And kind of said what I was going to point out is that Mary Harris Day this year is directing their focus more on lacrosse and field hockey, both sports that aren't as much at a lower level. Lacrosse is becoming more of a thing among youth in Waterbury and the Valley now, but field hockey having it this year as a sport in the fall with soccer as well, I think will allow youth to see that there are other sports besides just soccer that they can participate in at a varsity level and not just recreationally.
I really enjoyed this conversation, but I'm curious if we can get it back to the consent agenda item. And maybe we could invite the athletic director or the 7th grade soccer coach or whoever we want, PE teachers, to come talk to us about that, so that we can have it publicly warned to the towns that we're going to be talking about our the physical well-being of our children at the next meeting or 2 meetings from now.
Say that I was going to offer to bring in the curriculum director who can talk about the curriculum, but with our 4 exceptional students, I don't even know if we need that conversation anymore. I think the 4 of you did an excellent job, and I apologize, Cashel. I realize I breached protocol and jumped in ahead of you, so my apologies. Nah, I apologize.
Good discussion, and I agree with you. We should get back to our consent agenda, but we maybe just hatched a agenda item, right? Thanks, Dan. Thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. We still need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Bobby seconds, or JB first, Bobby seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we do have a brief update that we need to go into an executive session. So students, you are excused. The meeting is over for you. Thank you so much. And everyone else, 5-minute recess, and then we're going to come back and have oh, sorry. We need a motion to head into executive session.
We'll go into executive session.
Pam seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, heading into executive session. You guys in Zoom, please go into the breakout room. And remember the rules.
Mike and Jonathan back.
Hey, we're back. It's almost thumbs upping me. Did you get there all the time?
Not yet.
Oh, I will.
Entered executive.
Right.
Okay.
Welcome. Welcome back to the September 24th HUUSD board meeting. We are back from our executive session. We are taking no action. Does anyone have any other discussion? Bobby.
I had brought this up. I'm wondering about the letter we received, a copy from the other supervisory union regarding decoupling the school repairs and construction from the cost per pupil.
Yeah. Did everybody read that email a little while ago? Go ahead, Mike.
So the background, and first, if the board wants to write a letter in support, that's entirely up to the board. Just the background with it is not this year, but the year before, the legislature added bonds to the what qualifies for extraordinary expenses. And Lisa can talk more in depth about that. But part of the rationale is they knew they were going to come up on a time when, because of the costs and the budget issues, that there was going to be more focus on this issue, and they were concerned that before the legislature could go into a situation where they can take some action like they're looking at doing now with the redistricting task force and potential district consolidation and other cost savings measures, they did not want districts going out and going into bonds and spending money, because even though it's our taxpayers, it impacts the education fund for the state. So they added it to it so that there would be a definite impact on individual communities if you passed a bond. And I can say that with 100% certainty because that was shared directly with me by Representative Kornheiser, who's the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, and that was their intent, and they were very open about that. So I don't think we can do advocacy all we want, but I don't think that's going to change until they make some decisions on some other pieces to that. Again, that doesn't take away from the board. If the board wants to do that, that school is looking to have an active bond, and that's why they're very concerned. And I completely understand what their rationale is, and I'm not taking a position on it. I'm just kind of sharing what the legislature's rationale is and what the impact is on. Also involved in these conversations.
Anything new adds to the cost per pupil. So any capital improvements, any bonds adds to the cost per pupil. Right now, ours is not included. It's excluded. When we roll up to our cost per pupil, it's deducted. Those expenses are deducted. Bond payments are deducted out. And until things change and they put this in place as a short-term measure, any new debt is added to the cost per pupil. So.
That other school would not necessarily move the needle on any of that. I mean, obviously it won't at a state level, right? It'll take way more than that. It's kind of unfair to make it so expensive for us to fix our schools right now when they really need fixing.
We're not a serious state right now. It's a joke what they're doing. It doesn't make any sense on any level, and it is only going to end in disaster. But of course, they're going to have to do something to fix it, but it's ridiculous.
Agreed. Okay. Does anyone have any other comments or questions on that subject? Thank you for bringing that up, Bobby. All right, then I am looking for the motion. JB makes a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second? Pam seconds. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thanks, everybody.